Some people believe that kindness always comes back in one way or another. I never expected mine to return in the form of a lawyer standing at my front door with a briefcase worth more than everything I owned. If you're someone who believes that one small act of kindness can change a life forever, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It really helps us bring you more powerful stories like this. Now, let's begin. My name is Lydia Monroe, and until 2 years ago, my life was painfully ordinary. I was 34 years old, worked as a waitress in a small family-owned diner called Maple Corner Cafe, and struggled every month to pay rent. Life had never been easy. My father died when I was 12. My mother spent years battling illness before she passed away when I turned 22. I had no siblings, no inheritance, no wealthy relatives waiting to rescue me, just endless bills and long shifts. Every morning before work, I walked the same route through Ashton Park. And every morning, on the same wooden bench beneath a large oak tree, sat an elderly homeless man. Most people hurried past him. Some looked away. Others acted as though he didn't exist. He never begged. He never shouted for money. He simply sat quietly feeding birds with crumbs from stale bread. His beard was long. His coat looked older than I was. His shoes were cracked beyond repair. The first time I noticed him, it was raining heavily. People rushed by carrying umbrellas. The old man simply remained seated, soaked to the skin. Something inside me wouldn't let me ignore him. I walked into a nearby bakery and bought 2 hot coffees and a breakfast sandwich. When I handed them to him, he looked genuinely surprised. "I can't pay you," he said softly. "I wasn't asking you to." He smiled. It wasn't the smile of a desperate man. It was calm, peaceful, almost grateful. "Then may your kindness find you someday." I laughed. "I hope it knows my address." From that morning forward, feeding him became part of my routine. Some mornings it was coffee. Other days it was soup. Sometimes just fresh bread. His name, he told me, was Edmund. He never explained how he became homeless. And I never asked. Some stories are too painful to force out of someone. Instead, we talked about books, history, music, gardening. He somehow knew an incredible amount about almost everything. Far more than anyone I'd ever met. One day he recommended a novel I'd never heard of. When I finally borrowed it from the library, I discovered it was brilliant. Another day, he explained the stock market better than my college professor ever had. I joked, "You missed your calling." He chuckled. "Perhaps." One cold December morning, I noticed his hands shaking violently. Without thinking, I took off my own gloves and gave them to him. "You'll freeze. So will you." "I work indoors. You'll need another pair." "I'll survive." His eyes became watery. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" "My daughter." I froze. "You have a daughter?" I did. The sadness in his voice ended the conversation. Weeks passed, then months. Every day, we shared breakfast. Some coworkers laughed at me. "You're wasting money. He'll never repay you." People like that never change. I ignored them. Kindness isn't an investment expecting profit. Or at least that's what I believed. One Friday morning, Edmund wasn't on his bench. Neither the next day, nor the day after. A week passed. Then another. I asked nearby shop owners. Nobody had seen him. I feared the worst. Winter had been especially brutal. Eventually life forced me forward. Bills don't pause for grief. Months later, everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon. My landlord was threatening eviction. My refrigerator was almost empty. I'd just returned from work when someone knocked on my apartment door. Standing outside was a sharply dressed woman carrying a leather briefcase. "Are you Lydia Monroe?" "Yes." "My name is Victoria Sloan." She handed me a business card. "I represent the estate of Mr. Edmund Ashcroft." I blinked. "I'm sorry, who?" "The gentleman you knew as Edmund." My stomach tightened. "He died?" She nodded gently. "I'm afraid so." The words hit harder than I expected. She continued. "Before his passing, Mr. Ashcroft requested that we locate you immediately." "I don't understand." "Neither did we." She paused. Until we opened his will. Those words made absolutely no sense. What will? Victoria looked directly into my eyes. Mr. Ashcroft has named you as the sole beneficiary of his entire estate. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was impossible. You've made a mistake. We haven't. I fed a homeless man breakfast. He wasn't homeless. Silence. What? Victoria slowly opened the briefcase. Inside were photographs, private jets, luxury homes, corporate headquarters, awards ceremonies, magazine covers. In every single picture, Edmund stood wearing expensive tailored suits, clean-shaven, confident, powerful. This is impossible. She quietly replied. His real name was Edmund Ashcroft, founder of Ashcroft International, one of the richest men in the country. And somehow, he had left everything
To me?
I couldn't breathe. The photographs kept shaking in my hands. The man I had shared coffee with for nearly a year was one of the wealthiest men alive. Victoria explained everything. 5 years earlier, Edmund had stepped away from his company after a bitter battle with the board of directors and an even more painful personal tragedy. His wife had died, unexpectedly. Months later, his only daughter was killed in a car accident. The losses shattered him. Although he remained a billionaire on paper, he disappeared from public life. Many assumed he was traveling privately. Few knew he had chosen to live among ordinary people. Not because he had lost his fortune, because he had lost his reason to live. He wanted to discover whether genuine kindness still existed when people believed someone had nothing to offer. For nearly 3 years, he quietly moved between shelters, parks, and small towns. Thousands ignored him. Hundreds insulted him. Some even stole from him. Only a handful ever treated him like a human being. Out of everyone, I was the only person who consistently cared for him without ever asking for anything. Victoria handed me a handwritten letter. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Dear Lydia, if you are reading this, then my journey has ended. You never asked me who I was. You never asked how much money I had. You never asked what I could give you. You simply saw an old man sitting alone. You reminded me that compassion still exists. My daughter once told me that the richest people are not those who own the most, but those who give when they have the least. When I met you, I saw her kindness living in someone else. Everything I built means nothing if it cannot continue helping people. I trust you more than I trust executives who spent years pretending to care about me. Please don't waste this gift. Use it to change lives. Thank you for seeing me. By the time I finished reading, tears covered the page. The inheritance wasn't just money. It included Ashcroft International, multiple homes, charities, investments, and nearly $6 billion in assets. News spread across the country within hours. Television stations camped outside my apartment. Social media exploded. Headlines called me the waitress who inherited billions. Some people congratulated me. Others accused me of manipulating Edmund. Distant relatives I'd never met suddenly claimed we were family. Old classmates started sending friendly messages. People who once ignored me suddenly wanted lunch. I quickly learned something Edmund already knew. Money doesn't change everyone around you. It reveals who they already were. The board members of Ashcroft International weren't happy. They challenged the will in court. Their lawyers argued that Edmund had been mentally unstable. But Edmund had anticipated every argument. He had undergone multiple psychological evaluations before signing the documents. He recorded video statements explaining every decision. He even kept journals describing our conversations. The judge ruled that the will was completely valid. The case was dismissed. I officially became the owner of one of the largest companies in the country. At first, I wanted to sell everything. I didn't think someone like me belonged in that world. But then I remembered Edmund's final request. Don't waste this gift. So I didn't. The first thing I did was create a foundation in memory of Edmund and his daughter. It funded homeless shelters, food banks, scholarships, medical care, job training programs. No one was turned away because of their appearance. Next, I visited Maple Corner Cafe. My former boss nearly fainted when I walked in. I smiled. I'd like to buy the building. He stared silently. And I'd like every employee here to receive a substantial bonus, better salaries, and full health benefits. Several of my former coworkers cried, even those who had laughed at me. Then I returned to Ashton Park. The old wooden bench beneath the oak tree was still there. I placed fresh flowers beside it. A small bronze plaque now reads, "In memory of Edmund Ashcroft, a man who proved that the greatest wealth is kindness." Every year on the anniversary of his passing, hundreds of volunteers gather there to hand out meals to people in need. Many never knew his story, but they continue his legacy anyway. Years later, a young boy approached me during one of those events. He asked, "Why do you keep doing this? You already have more money than you'll ever spend." I smiled, because someone once gave me a chance to become the person I was meant to be. He nodded thoughtfully before running off to help serve food. As I watched him, I realized something. Edmund hadn't left me billions because I fed him breakfast. He left me everything because kindness cannot be bought, faked, or inherited. It has to come from the heart. And perhaps that was the greatest fortune of all. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness matters. Now we'd love to hear from you. If you were in Lydia's shoes and unexpectedly inherited a billionaire's fortune, what is the very first thing you would do? Tell us in the comments below.